connected with the world each week on Travel with Rick Steves. Together, we'll explore fascinating sights, discover amazing food, and make new friends from near and far. Your radio is the only passport you'll need. Join us for Travel with Rick Steves, Saturday afternoons at 1 on KSJE.
KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, which is officially baby-friendly. This evidence-based initiative is designed to support mother-baby bonding and optimal infant feeding practices by upholding the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding. San Juan Regional Medical Center, officially baby-friendly, and serving the Four Corners since 1910. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. Minutes past 8 o'clock. It's Thursday morning, January 9th. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Micklin. Thanks for tuning in to KSJE, 90.9 FM over the air in San Juan County, 103.3 FM over the air now in Durango, Colorado, and streaming everywhere from our website at ksje.com. Special good morning also to our viewers who are joining us as we stream live to the KSJE Facebook page and YouTube channel with our visual radio programming. Good morning to you. We're glad you are with us, and thank you for joining us. Coming up in just a moment, we're talking economic development today with my guest, Arvin Trujillo. He is the CEO of Four Corners Economic Development. Our focus today is that hearing that was held earlier this week in San Juan County by the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission about the abandonment of the San Juan Generating Station by PNM, the Public Service Company of New Mexico. We'll talk more about that in detail coming up in the next few moments right here on KSJE, so stay right where you are. Later on this morning, Mick Hess will be here. He's sharing some arts news with us on Roving with the Arts. It's our weekly daily classical music program from 9 till 10 a.m. Mick is also playing some keyboard concertos from the great composer Mozart on the show today. That you'll hear this morning, immediately following this program at 9:06 on KSJE, so stay right there. Don't forget, of course, to connect with us on social media. We're on Facebook and YouTube, of course. You can also follow us on Twitter. Two Twitter feeds, KSJE_news for breaking news alerts, or at KSJE for news about the radio station, programs, and much, much more. And you can connect with us on Instagram as well. Our weather forecast, well, we are waiting for the snow that's expected to start maybe this afternoon. Partly sunny skies this morning, mostly cloudy, though, this afternoon with a good chance of rain or snow showers developing today. 39 for a high in Farmington on this Thursday. More chances for snow overnight tonight, maybe an inch or so by tomorrow morning. The low tonight, 24, and then off and on snow showers on Friday. Colder temperatures, 36 for a high tomorrow, 14 Friday night. Sunshine but cold on Saturday with a high of 36. 35 partly sunny skies on Sunday before the next weather system moves into the forecast Sunday night with a low of 24 degrees and a chance for rain and snow showers Sunday night into Monday and Tuesday of next week. And of course, we always say that visual radio can take you places, so we'll take you where it is snowing right now, and that is up in Wyoming at the Spotted Horse Ranch along the Hoback River outside Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where it right now is a balmy 22 degrees in Jackson Hole, on its way to a high of 25 degrees today with snow in the forecast all day long, and tonight's low temperature in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, -1. But it's a pretty view if you're inside looking at that cold Hoback River and the snow on the trees and the fields surrounding the Spotted Horse Ranch there in Wyoming. Thursday morning here on KSJE, and joining me in our visual radio studio for his regular visit with me, Arvin Trujillo, the Executive Director of Four Corners Economic Development. Arvin Trujillo, good morning.
Good morning, Scott. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Welcome back. Happy New Year.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It was a good New Year, and we're looking forward to the next coming year here.
A good 2020 is what you're saying,
That's
huh?
right.
Okay.
That's right.
Well, I know you had a big event yesterday,
Yes.
and we'll talk about that maybe next month. But another big event that happened earlier this week happened on Monday, and that was a hearing with the Public Regulation Commission about a topic near and dear to both of our hearts, which is the future of the San Juan Generating Station.
That's correct.
And you were at that hearing, and the PRC, again, is this Public Regulation Commission who is tasked in our state of regulating utilities, of
That's
which
correct.
PNM is one, and they are divesting of this coal-fired power plant. And, of course, there's lots of conversations about what's next, and the city of Farmington has a very ambitious plan to partner with Enchant Energy to
Yes.
create a carbon capture facility at this plant. And so this hearing that was on Monday was about PNM.
It was about PNM
Correct.
and their efforts to abandon San Juan Generating Station.
2022, right?
Yes.
They have kind of gone on the record to say we want out of the coal business and we have to file these certain things to make this happen, and this
That's
is where our company is going, basically, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So what did you come away with from this hearing? Were the commissioners at least interested in hearing about what this would mean for San Juan County and in the future? Because I know there's a lot of concerns about this.
Well, I think the commission was very interested to see and to hear what the public thought about the abandonment of San Juan Generating Station. The chairperson for the commission, Teresa Bencenti Aguilar, really put this all together, and she brought her members of her commission here to listen. And basically, Scott, the thing that I took away from this was the fact that we had the people here in San Juan County coming together and basically telling their story. You know, telling the commissioners what they thought about the closure of San Juan Generating Station, and understanding that, yes, there are decisions that were made by a public service company in New Mexico. They weren't really looking at that particular decision, but what they were focused on was the fact that there was Enchant Energy, who was willing to take another look at the power plant and look at some new options for that, and to see, are there ways that we can continue the operations of those facilities looking into the future, and also began to explain to the commissioners why this facility was so important, not only to San Juan County, but to the region as a whole, because we even had individuals come as far away as Page, Arizona, to come and talk about this and relay some of the same kind of issues that they've been going through with the shutdown of Navajo Generating Station.
Right. That's an interesting parallel, I think, because Page has just gone through what we are talking about here, because the Navajo Generating Station and the associated Kayenta mine have shut down, and they are now dealing with the after effects of that major decision, right, where it affects the economy and jobs and
That's
all these
correct.
things, right?
Yes, that's correct. And they were able to relay what they have been going through and why it was important for, and their support for what was happening here. They were very encouraged, I think, by the fact that they saw so many people from the community stepping forward and making statements before the New Mexico PRC about their particular situation, and they were encouraged by that, and they wanted to lend their support to this community, and to also, again, to emphasize to the commission to listen to the people here. And the other thing that was very quite a surprise to me, and was a couple of statements that were made by business leaders who own local businesses here in the area, who knew their customers, who knew what the customers were going through, who understood what's happening, who were able to relay some of the effects of the economy and how it's affect their businesses. But they were also relaying to the commissioners that this is an important issue to this area, and for the commissioners to listen to these workers, whether they were direct job holders there at the power plant, or they were contractors working in contract positions, or even looking at the indirects, the retail people like themselves. Mm-hmm. We were all affected by this, and they were emphasizing or really asking the commission to really listen to the people and hear what they had to say, because again, this was something that's really important to this region.
Right. And so no one's expecting the PRC to reverse PNM's decision in order for them to keep the plant and not abandon it. Isn't that true? I mean, PNM's decision is
that's done.
The horse has left the corral, or
That's
whatever the saying is. But it's kind of what's next, right? And so that the idea is being that we don't want to necessarily shut down this plant. We want to give this Enchant proposal and the city of Farmington proposal and a future to see what they can do with this new technology. Is that kind of where we are now with the PRC and wanting their, I guess, blessing or support as we move forward?
Yes. What we want to do is to allow Enchant to go in and to look at carbon capture, to actually see what we can do, and is this truly a viable process that we could utilize to help extend the life of this power plant. And again, you know, there are opportunities that could result as if this should prove to be successfessful.
Sure. For other plants and other places, other communities. Isn't that
correct.
True? Because I know, you know, we hear a lot about coal and that it's not the cleanest form of energy, and there's a lot of environmental concerns about coal power, and folks are moving away from coal power, case in point.
Yeah.
But this technology, as I understand it, and I'll be doing some more interviews with Enchant and some other folks who hopefully can explain it to me in the audience about why this is a cleaner alternative to the way the plant has been run in the past. And it's been explained, with this technology, this San Juan generating station would be a cleaner burning plant than a natural gas plant.
Yes.
That's your understanding too.
That's my understanding at this point too.
The emissions would be low enough that it would actually be cleaner than a natural gas plant.
Yes.
So that's where we are, everybody. And so so the PRC was getting some information, and of course, whenever you talk to, I know you and the mayor and some of the other economic development officials, the story is really all about jobs.
Right.
It's not necessarily that coal is the be-all, end-all, but it's what are we going to do to save these jobs, and it may be 700 jobs at the plant and the mine, but another maybe 1,900 jobs or so in the associated industries, the contractors that you mentioned, the other industries that rely on that plant, and so forth. And if those jobs go away, it affects a lot more than just the San Juan generating station.
That's correct. That's correct. And again, it's looking at how we can provide that opportunity. So let's really take a look at this option. And if this option should prove successful, it opens new doors for us to continue looking at how we begin to transition ourselves, looking into the future. And again, that could bring opportunities to other facilities, but in particular, it allows us to look at a large-scale operation here and seeing what viable opportunities can we utilize from this and continue to move forward in improving our efforts with coal-fired generation. Because again, from my experience with coal-fired generation, in the past, the industry has been challenged by different types of environmental issues as we've progressed through the years, starting in the 60s when we really first started looking at large-scale power plant development. But through the years, we've tackled things like water utilization. We've tackled things like particulate emissions, nitrous oxide emissions, the development of acid rain. All these things came up as challenges, but through research and development, we found ways to mitigate a lot of those environmental concerns. Now we're looking at greenhouse gases. And again, we need to take a look at this, and a lot of people are looking at new technology to see what can we do to address these areas. And we may have found a possible link to look at the technology to help us in this area too. And again, the idea is, yes, jobs are important, but really we're looking at the welfare of the community and how do we begin to transition as we look at new opportunities coming down the road. But we just can't go and cut this off and say, well, we'll try and do something else now. Because again, we still need capital, we still need people, because we know if this does shut down, people they're going to go look for a job somewhere.
Right.
And so when they do that, people will leave.
Right.
And
If they
so
can't
again,
find
that
it
makes
here,
it even more challenging, because then you start losing skills within the community also.
and I don't know of many communities that could absorb a decrease in their available jobs of, and I don't know what the percentage would be, but if we talk about 700 jobs, we're talking about 1,600 jobs, but that is a significant percentage of the available jobs, and good paying jobs, by the way, in any market. And so if you somehow lose that, even in Albuquerque, right? If you lose 20% of your jobs for a number, you can't really absorb that very easily, even in a city the size of Albuquerque.
That's true. That would be like Intel,
Right.
just picking up and leaving
Right.
Rio Rancho. Think about the impact that would have, not only for Rio Rancho, but for the greater Albuquerque area. We're seeing that here, but not only would it affect San Juan County, but it would affect Four Corners as a whole. And so, again, we're looking at what are some of those viable options that we can take a look at.
Sure, and it's not lost on me that we've been losing jobs a little bit at a time because the units have been shutting down, and so the mine has been employing less people through attrition and things like that, and maybe some layoffs. And the plant, same thing, as the units get shut down, there's been less employees, so we've been losing jobs, we know, but not all at once, like we're talking about, if the plant were to shut down.
Exactly.
And so the commissioners were here from the PRC, and they were hearing from local business owners and local residents and things like, and folks like yourself, who wanted to let them know about this. And so what if other folks are interested in the future of the San Juan Generating Station, I guess pro or con, right? Shut down or keep it open or whatever the case may be, they still have an opportunity to address the commission?
I think, they said that they're taking the comments that they received, and that will be going on the record. But I think what I want to talk to our listeners here is really helping to educate the commissioners themselves. Because, again, they don't really understand what this whole economic driver means in the region here. And so what I'm looking and what I would like to ask some of our listeners to do is to take a few minutes. Much like the people who were able to go to the hearings on last Monday and talk about what their feelings were, I think it would be good for people to sit down and write an email or write a short letter to the commissioners to let them know what this really means to you as an individual, as a resident here in San Juan County or in the Four Corners region as a whole. Because we've all seen benefits from the fact that we've had this energy sector here, be it oil and gas, be it coal. We've seen benefits to our families, to our welfare, to our ability to raise our families, to our ability to donate to necessary support organizations here in the county as well as the Four Corners region to help those that are less privileged than us. And so again, there are things that we've been able to do because of this. And I know there is fear out there. I know there's anger out there. But again, what I'm looking to do is to challenge that or to channel that in a way that we begin to just simply explain to the commissioners what we see, what we feel, what our thoughts were, and help them understand why we are looking at this from somewhat of a different point of view. And we're not, it's difficult for us to really put this just in objective terms, but there's a lot of subjectivity involved in terms of what we feel, sometimes what our fears are, what some of our anger may be, but help explain them so that they understand what we're going through and how might they be able to take those thoughts and be a part of their decision as they move forward with a number of important decisions coming down the road concerning San Juan Generating Station.
Sure, and we talk about some of the impacts that it would have if the plant were to close and the mine were to close. Certainly a tax impact for the school district out there, the Central Consolidated School District. San Juan County taxes would be impacted, property taxes and things like that. We've heard from PNM who've said that they want to replace some of the power, but when we got the specifics from PNM, if my recollection is correct, a lot of that replacement power is going to be built outside of San Juan County.
That's correct.
And that's documented. And so that's not going to help replace the lost tax revenue for property taxes. So all that we know, those are all facts that we know that's going to happen. The fact that this new technology for the carbon capture may give us another, I don't know, decade,
could be
15 years, 20 years, I don't know, to lengthen the life of this plant, might give us the time then to look at renewables, because I think the other conversation is people would be saying, well, let's get rid of this dirty coal plant because renewables are the answer and that's the future and that's where we need to go. But whenever I talk to someone about renewables, they tell me, well, yeah, we have them, but we don't have a way to store that energy reliably on a big scale that we're talking about. And so if the sun's not out, the wind's not blowing, or whatever the case may be, you're not going to have any energy.
That's correct.
And that's where we are, isn't it? We're kind of in this transition time.
Yeah, and again, that transition can even look at new technology, because coal
but 10 years from now, it could be a different story.
Yeah, exactly. And not just in energy. There are other areas that they're now looking at coal development and looking at natural gas development. We talked about a few of those, looking at utilizing natural gas to produce plastics.
Right.
Utilizing coal to produce fiber, much like rubber. That type of technology is being researched and being developed now. I mean, there are other opportunities looking at these types of base commodities, and how do we then develop value-added commodities, and energy is one of those areas, but it's not the only area. But again, we need some time to begin to transition and to begin to look at new opportunities to see where does this take us, and how do we continue to develop not only Farmington and not only San Juan County, but looking at the Four Corners region as a whole. So that's what we're looking at this point.
Sure. And so I think it's a valid concern from folks who want to have everything go towards renewables, except that again, even PNM, I think, admitted that they don't have enough capacity, and the technology isn't quite there yet to do, to replace this giant power plant of coal with all a big field of batteries or something like that. They just don't have it yet, or it's so extraordinarily expensive, it wouldn't make sense for ratepayers to try to put that into place.
That's correct. That's correct. And so again, there are numerous options that could be out there, but we don't know what they are.
Right.
And so again, this gives us some time to really begin to look at that and to explore these areas and to look at this as a community. Because as I've explained before, I look at economic development not just as a function of government, or a function of a number of nonprofits that are out there, or a function of the chamber or anything like that. This is a community effort. And again, getting the community involved and participating in this effort is also important. And this is how you could also participate in this whole effort, is to sit down and write a letter or send an email to the New Mexico PRC. You can look at their website. You can look at the Enchant website, www.enchantenergy. And there you can find out more information about what we've been talking about. And again, the idea here is to inform yourself on what's there, make your decisions, but then let the policymakers know what you're thinking, how you feel. Because that becomes important, I think, as they begin to go and deliberate on decisions that they will be needing to make that could very much affect this portion of the state and affect the families that live here in this region. And again, that's important to me. I know it's important to you.
Right.
And, we want to see this area continue to prosper and to develop looking in the future. So again, that's kind of that was my big take as I was listening to all the comments being taken last Monday, and how we need to continue to bring that information to the New Mexico PRC so that they begin to understand what we see and understand what our points of view as we look at this whole situation.
Sure. But you mentioned the commission chairman, who I think is from the western New Mexico area.
Yes, she is.
But a lot of the other ones are from other parts of the state who may not have a good understanding of the energy, maybe history here, or if they're from Albuquerque or Santa Fe, it might be all about renewables and all about making a change, and they may not understand that these numbers equal jobs and equal people and equal people's lives and things along that line. And as you mentioned, if these jobs go away, these people, if they can't find another job, are going to go away too. They're going to move to an area where they can find a job and support their families.
That's
We've
correct.
seen that already with some of the changes in the oil and gas fields.
We've seen that and we've experienced that. And again, it's looking at how do we meet this new challenge, and how do we meet it as a community? How do we look at to one another to help support one another in our efforts, understanding that, you know, we've built ourselves a kind of a step ladder, and we've got a foundation built, but that foundation is changing right now. So we need to change that foundation. But while we're changing that foundation, how do we keep some things in place that will help us to do that in a more effective manner, so that we don't see a lot of negative aspects of that transition that has to happen? So again, you know, there are a lot of things happening here, but, you know, the important piece to this is the fact that the citizens out there can take an active part in this. And just the simple thing of writing an email or writing a letter to the commission is one step that could help. Because if we are able to get that point across, you know, people sometimes have a tendency to say, well, it's just me. What can I do?
Right.
Who am I? But we must all understand that we all vote. We all have a vote. And because of that, people will listen to us. And so if you sit down and you talk to your neighbors, you talk to your friends, you talk to your coworkers, and then suddenly one letter becomes two, two letters become four, four becomes eight, eight becomes 16, 16 becomes 32, so on and so on. Suddenly people began to understand that this is an important issue to San Juan County, and specifically to the northwest portion of the state of New Mexico and the Four Corners region.
Sure.
So again, given that fact, I think that would help them understand what is important and why they need to be doing this.
And I would think from a commissioner standpoint, if they're getting a lot of letters one at a time from residents in San Juan County talking about the impact that this plant has had in their lives and how they've been able to provide for their family because of the jobs that they've had and things along that line, that would make an impact too to them.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Because again, it helps. I think people begin to feel what is important to a particular community. And, you know, people, I can remember back in school, you know, people talking about the silent majority. You know, right now we have a tendency to leave the mouthpiece to our policymakers and those that represent us. But there are times when people continue to hear those same voices, and they become somewhat deaf to those voices being spoken out there. But if people come together and start speaking in one voice, but many voices are speaking at the same time, then I think people begin to hear those voices, and they begin to understand what people are beginning to feel in a particular region.
Sure.
And so again, I think that becomes very important as we move forward with this whole effort here.
And Arvin Trujillo, we're almost out of time this morning, but I want to ask you too, because I would assume time is of the essence here. It's not that you have to write an email or a letter today, but these comment periods are only open for a certain amount of time when we're talking about a PRC hearing or something that they're considering or wanting more information about. And so it would be important to write a letter or to contact the PRC sooner than later if you really want to let them know about something.
Yeah, I think it would be important because, again, this is, before they start making their decisions, I think it would be important just to get a letter to them, just to let them know what your feelings are, what your thoughts are. And again, I'm not here to tell you one way or another how to what your thoughts are or how to say things. That's going to be up to you and the decisions that you make. But what I'm saying is that there's still time, because again, the idea here is to help them understand what we feel here in San Juan County before they go into these decisions. And your particular comments may not make it into the record. That's okay, because again, you're just writing a letter to these commissioners to help them understand what you feel as a citizen, what you're thinking, why this is important, and what they should also consider as they make their decisions looking into the future.
Right. And so there's a lot of things that they are going to be taking into account. I know there's a little bit of back and forth between the Energy Transition Act and the PRC, and all that is still to be discussed, I know, as well, in maybe a different forum. But for right now, the PRC is doing what they are commissioned to do for the state, which is to investigate and look at some of these issues relating to the utilities in our state.
Yes.
And that's what they're doing.
That's exactly what they're doing.
All right. Arvin Trujillo, always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
You bet. Looking forward to next month.
Okay, we'll see you then.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That is Arvin Trujillo, everyone. He is the Executive Director of Four Corners Economic Development, my guest here on KSJE.
For those of us who